Do you ever catch yourself thinking that maybe you're not creative? If you've had these thoughts, I'm here to tell you that it's absolute rubbish. I want to shake you out of your slumber and tell you that each one of us is limitless in our capability to be creative. At this point, I realize that some of you may think I sound like an annoying optimist, but I will try and prove my point by talking about two commonly held myths about the world of creativity. But first, let's talk about what creativity really means, because it means different things to different people. It's a word that gets thrown around a fair bit. Creativity at the workplace, discover your creative potential, unlock your creativity. All of these phrases, these clickbaits get thrown around quite a bit, and I'm responsible for posting some of them on my channels too. But let's actually talk about what it means. Creativity, simply put, is original ideas that have value. Period. Original ideas that have value. And I believe that each one of us is capable of coming up with unique thoughts, opinions, and ideas of our own. Are they valuable or not? I don't know. We can put that to the test. But we are capable of coming up with thoughts and ideas of our own. There's a villain in the story here. As we grow older and become more responsible, take on more responsibilities, there's more pressure on us to perform at higher levels of our capability, which means becoming financially independent, figuring out our careers, providing for our families, all of these different daunting tasks. And what this does is it enforces us to operate within a narrow range of our capabilities. Let me give you an example from my industry itself. If you're somebody who's a software engineer, you're expected to write code, you're expected to write brilliant code that's very efficient, then that defines who you are. You become a software engineer, leaving from the equation everything else that you once brought to the table. There's another villain in the story that comes into play, which is once you've assumed your role in your day job, every single force around you confines you to just that, which means you get stereotyped very quickly. If you're identified as somebody who writes code for a living, then that's who you are. That's all you get to do. You don't get to do anything else. If, for example, you want to try out a brand campaign, that's suddenly not in your expertise, and you don't get the opportunities because you're identified as somebody who's deeply technical. But maybe you have a genuine knack for storytelling and for understanding how brands work. Suddenly, that gains no exposure at all because you are a software engineer. So two villains here. One is you operating within a narrow range of your capabilities, and second, that becoming your identity, which is very constricting, constraining for your creative potential to come out and blossom. Let's talk about the two myths now. The first myth is something that even I've been guilty of holding at some point in the past, which is we think that creativity is a gene, that either you have it or you don't. It's something that you're born with. That's absolutely untrue. I feel like creativity is like a muscle in the sense that fitness, let's talk about fitness. Some people are fit. True. Not everybody is fit. Also true. But does everybody have the potential to become fit? Very true. If you work your muscles, if you do the repetitions, if you do the sets day in and day out, if you work out day in and day out, you will become fit. And that's exactly how creativity works. It's like a muscle. If you work it enough number of times, that muscle grows. Creativity is that muscle. The second myth in this story is a rather interesting one. We feel that creativity is about doing certain tasks and certain tasks only. Music is creative. Dance is creative. Painting, anything that's related to art is defined as creative and nothing else. We limit creativity to just the arts. Why so? Engineering can be creative. Finance can be creative. Writing code can be creative. The way you do math can be creative. Each one of these things can be creative. The way you build relationships can be creative. The way you break relationships can be creative. Creativity really has no bounds. We're the only people who define those bounds for ourselves. I've mentioned two myths just now. If you see yourself holding one of these two myths or both of these myths, realize that they are indeed myths. Reevaluate your beliefs, reevaluate your perspective, try and rediscover what were those habits that you once really enjoyed doing, that made your heart sing, that you were good at, that you've all of a sudden stopped doing because it wasn't necessary anymore. Maybe that is where your creative potential blossomed. Maybe that is where you were your most creative self, and you being creative in that particular domain may have spilled over to your other roles and responsibilities as well. I want to end this video by saying this one quote that I read a long time ago. I'm not sure who said it, The work that feeds your body need not be the work that feeds your soul. The activity that you perform to stay creative needs to be done for its own sake, not to make a living out of it. If you can make a living out of it, then it's great. You're lucky, you're super lucky. I envy you. But if not, keep that alive. It's a living and breathing part of you. Don't suppress it.